Flames engulf yet another vehicle on northwestern Ontario roadways. Good evening, I'm Haley Perot. Thank you for joining us. For the second day in a row, there's been a transport truck destroyed by fire in this region. But unlike yesterday's incident at Maple Ward Road, this one near Marathon involved a three-vehicle collision. It happened just after 6 o'clock this morning. OPP say the vehicles involved in the crash were a transport, an SUV, and a pickup truck. All occupants were transported to hospital, and the passenger in the pickup was confirmed to have serious injuries. The highway was closed throughout the day between Old Heron Bay Road and Terrace Bay, and there's no word yet on when it could reopen. OPP say the transport was carrying car batteries, and the Marathon Fire Department was on scene for what they called a fully involved tractor-trailer fire. Homelessness and addictions, the temporary shelter village, and the Northwest Arterial Project were just some of the topics brought up by local leaders at this year's Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference. The delegation met with various provincial ministers to lobby for funding and action. Jessica Clement reports.
The Thunder Bay delegation took some of the city's biggest issues straight to Ottawa earlier this week for the annual AMO conference. That includes Kristen Oliver, chair of the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. One of the main topics brought up was the homelessness and addictions crisis. Oliver says they focused that discussion on how unique Northern Ontario's needs are compared to the rest of the province.
One of the asks that we had to the province was to look at communities in Northern Ontario a little bit more different than funding opportunities that larger centres in Southern Ontario can leverage, in the sense that those that continue to manage and operate their own housing, they have a different opportunity to address homelessness in a much different way than we do here in the city, recognizing we rely on our DSAB.
Intergovernmental Affairs Vice Chair Shelby Chung spoke with Sylvia Jones, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, about the temporary shelter village, with the discussion focused on mental health.
These are people that are having a hard time fitting into the more traditional short-term stays at the shelter house and Salvation Army due to varying factors. So we were hoping that we could maybe inspire some dollars from the Ministry of with Sylvie Jones and hopefully get some funding in that regard.
Oliver says the delegates also discussed the upgrades to the Thunder Bay Expressway and the Northwest Arterial Project, estimated to cost around $33 million.
It is an incredibly expensive piece of infrastructure, so we went asking for assistance on that to ensure that if the expressway is moving forward, that the Northwest Arterial is obviously a part of that, and that we do receive some support in government funding on that.
Other topics brought up at AMO this week include the Lakehead Psychiatric Hospital property, funding for the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, and bringing a forensic pathology unit to the city.
The government's still in the middle of assessing the need for Thunder Bay, but recognizes that there is a need. They just want to see the level of need that we require. At this time, I'm expecting that we're going to probably hear within the next year more detailed, more firm information.
Oliver's very optimistic their voices have been heard.
We had really great meetings, and I would say this was one of the conferences in the last little bit where I left the room feeling heard, feeling collaboration, feeling there was engagement. The discussions certainly have me feeling pretty optimistic.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
The City of Thunder Bay is gauging interest for a private operator to run the new indoor turf facility. Construction is fully underway next to the community auditorium, and the city has just released a request for expressions of interest to test the marketplace for people or companies with the expertise to manage and operate the $36 million facility. Jonathan Wilson reports.
Community Services Commissioner Kelly Robertson calls this an exploratory process to see who might want to run the indoor turf facility, and she's not sure what the level of interest will be.
Hard to say. For other facility solutions, when we had done expressions of interest in the past, we did receive interest. So there could be some interest out there. And that's why we're going to the marketplace with the request for an expression of interest. It's a fair and open and transparent way of seeing if there is interest out there to manage and operate the facility. And based on the response we get, we'll be making a recommendation to Council.
If the city receives multiple expressions of interest, the process could move to a formal request for proposals. If only one qualified group applies, the city could then negotiate with them, and if no one applies, the city would likely become the default operator. Robertson says there could also be a shared operating model.
I am aware of other operations where it can be a blend, a city and partner type of operated facility. And as I said, a city operation isn't out of the question, but we want to make sure that we solicit interest from the marketplace first.
There's been a lot of talk about whether the indoor turf facility will be a money-making or money-losing endeavor. Robertson says the overall expectation is for an annual break-even situation.
All of our financial studies to date, based on the info that we've had from users and their demand for access to indoor turf, is that if you look at the direct revenues and the direct costs of operating the facility, those can be covered by the revenues. But when you start to talk about life cycle renewal costs, that's when you start to maybe need some help from the city.
The deadline for the expressions of interest is September 19th. And Robertson says if any groups come forward, the city will need to act fairly quickly to formalize a management and operating agreement.
Well, the facility is planned to be open in the fall of 2026, and it would take, in my experience, at least 6 to 9 months to, prep for the operating the facility. So we would want to move quickly on evaluating any submissions we receive and then getting in front of council and making a recommendation, hopefully this fall for sure.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
The City of Thunder Bay has awarded the contract to build a climate-controlled structure for the historic carousel at Chipoa Park. M-Build's construction was the lone bidder. Their $2.1 million bid was slightly lower than the city's estimated price tag of $2.2 million. The 110-year-old carousel was recently restored through a 5-year effort involving local volunteers, tradespeople, and artists. City officials say the new building will protect that restoration work, allowing the ride to potentially operate year-round, and connect it to the existing pavilion to expand programming opportunities. The Friends of Chipoa Park played a key role convincing the province and Ottawa to cover $1.25 million of the overall cost. The city is providing the rest of the funding. Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson says this project will bring many benefits.
There was a tremendous amount of work done to restore the carousel, and the reason we had to do that work was initially the carousel had always been operated outside in the natural environment. So the horses, the carousel horses, they're made out of wood, and they do deteriorate with moisture, humidity, UV rays. So that's really what this prevents. It allows us to put the renewed, restored carousel inside of a controlled environment where it will significantly reduce the wear and tear.
Work is planned to begin in October and is expected to be completed by May 2026, just in time for when the Chippewa rides open next year. Former Fort Frances nurse Lindsay Coyle will never practice again after admitting her actions caused a patient's death. Coyle altered an elderly woman's medication record in 2015 in order to steal morphine while working at La Vérendrye Hospital. Justin Hardy has the details.
Lindsay Coyle's actions led to 76-year-old Hermina Fletcher receiving too much morphine and dying of toxicity. Coyle was originally charged with multiple crimes, including second-degree murder, but in 2022, she pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing death and breaching a release order. She was sentenced in 2024 to 2 years in jail. At a College of Nurses of Ontario disciplinary hearing on Thursday, Coyle admitted to 3 counts of professional misconduct: abusing a patient by changing her medication record, falsifying the record, and acting in a way considered disgraceful and unprofessional. The college accepted her permanent resignation, meaning she can never reapply to work as a nurse. In a separate civil case, she was ordered to pay $130,000 in damages to Fletcher's family, who had originally sought $3 million. The related claim against the hospital has been dismissed after an out-of-court settlement. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Some good news today about 2 major wildfires that have been burning since May. Ontario Forest Fires posted today that the fires Kenora 20 and Kenora 32 are now out. Those fires measuring just over 36,000 and 7,700 hectares respectively. The agency is sending out a huge thank you to the hundreds of personnel who helped fight those fires. A Thunder Bay staple, Ribfest, is back in town for another year. The popular event organized by Our Kids Count will see 4 days of activity at Marina Park, with plenty of fall-off-the-bone ribs and chicken up for sale from the out-of-town ribbers. Day 1 of the popular event is pickup only, and the waterfront is already filled with the smell of delicious barbecue. Ribfest draws in thousands of people each year and serves as a major fundraiser for Our Kids Count. The weekend will once again feature award-winning ribbers from across North America, along with local vendors and family-friendly live entertainment. Organizer Jackie Knuff says city residents won't want to miss this weekend's festivities.
We're really excited to be back here at the marina this year. This year's Ribfest, just like last year, is all about families. Our Kids Count's about families, so we want to make sure that it's a family-friendly event. Lots to do for the kids. We have theme days every day and lots of entertainment on the stage. We're bringing back the beer gardens this year, so the Sleeping Giant Brewery will be here on site. And lots of local food vendors, lots of local entertainment, and just a good time for everybody.
Ribfest runs until 9 o'clock tonight and then continues every day until Sunday evening. Knuff is reminding event goers that the rib stands are strictly cash only. Well, our reporter Jaden Billick was down at the marina today for that, and he brought back some ribs. They smelled excellent.
Yeah, no surprise.
Yeah, it was amazing, Fiona. And you know what? Hopefully we have a weekend where ribs can be well enjoyed.
Well, you know, I think Thunder Bay is a hearty bunch, so it doesn't matter what happens. We're going to get out there to enjoy our Ribfest. We like our meat.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And today, well, it was kind of iffy at times. We had this system pushing in from the west. It's been bringing showers to areas to the west, but you can see just swooping in, bringing brief showers to Thunder Bay. In fact, although it was mostly cloudy most of the day, we had a few periods of a little bit of sprinkles. I can't call it actual rain, but you know, a little bit of sprinkles out there. Had to have the wipers going a few times. Winds were relatively light most of the day, primarily from the southwest, although it was switching around quite a bit. Started out at 4 kilometers per hour, and late this afternoon it started to pick up a little bit, gusts up to 28 km. Temperature-wise, we started with a low of 11. We hit double digits on the 2 side today, 22, but it felt like 27 Celsius. So even though it was just seasonal for this time of year, it was actually a beautiful, warm day. Now, if we take a look at what's going on across the region at this hour, you saw on the radar the rain moving through. We have a thunderstorm watch throughout this area to the west. Red Lake so far seems to have avoided the rain though, and they've been mostly cloudy. Fort Frances actually experiencing a thunderstorm at this hour, and temperature-wise pretty consistent, 19, 20, 21, all right, up to 22. But the humidex, 29 pretty much across the region to the west. As you head further east, you can see similar temperatures, 22 in Armstrong at this hour, Greenstone 20. We've got mostly cloudy skies. That's about a 5-degree fall from yesterday. So it is definitely cooler, but still within seasonal values. Along the North Shore, Marathon is currently just at 16, 18 in Wawa, Sault Ste. Marie at 24, but they too have a humidex of 29. And they saw a little bit of clearing. Started out mostly cloudy, currently partly cloudy. So temperature-wise, fairly consistent around the 20 to low 20s mark. But the humidex is sitting at about 29 pretty much everywhere except just along the lake shore. Now, here tonight, we are going to see a very mild overnight low, just 16 Celsius. But there's a 40% chance of showers as that system kind of weakens as it heads through Thunder Bay and along the northwest shores of Lake Superior. But there is a risk of a thunderstorm. Winds are going to be relatively light from the south, 5 to 10 kilometers per hour. Now, as we think about our plans for the weekend, and we start with Friday, the risk of rain is going to continue pretty much until Monday, and temperatures are going to fall further. However, as we saw with the humidex, it doesn't necessarily feel like the temperatures are falling too far. It's still quite comfortable. And, you know, as I said, even with a risk of rain, you know, Ribfest is a huge success every year because folks love this.
Oh, absolutely, Fiona. And I was thinking a positive, if it's raining, it just makes it easier to wipe all the extra sauce off your hands.
Absolutely.
A cleaner experience.
Bring an umbrella just in case. Bring a jacket if you need it. But otherwise, I think it's still going to be a pretty good weekend for the folks at Our Kids Count.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fiona.